Most killers try to disappear. They scrub scenes, burn evidence, and fade into the background.
The predator behind the 1977 Girl Scout murders at Camp Scott wanted to be heard. He left taunting notes, convinced his intellect was superior to the police.
But arrogance leaves a trace. Today, we're not looking at footprints or DNA. We're going to dissect the punctuation, the verb tense, and the sheer audacity of his words. We are going to reconstruct the mind he thought he was hiding. Because hidden in the syntax of his taunting letters is a psychological fingerprint so specific, it exposes the exact type of monster hiding in plain sight.
June 1977, Locust Grove, Oklahoma. Camp Scott is supposed to be a sanctuary. Instead, it becomes the site of an unthinkable tragedy. 3 young girls are found murdered in the woods outside their tent.
The immediate aftermath is chaos. Law enforcement descends, searching for a phantom in the dense Oklahoma brush. The physical evidence is sparse. A footprint, a roll of tape, a flashlight.
But then, the letters arrive. Taunting, arrogant correspondence sent to the authorities and the camp director. Most investigators see the ravings of a madman, but forensic linguists see something else. They see a map.
The killer writes to mock the police. To claim superiority, he uses complex words, trying to project an image of high education and untouchable intellect. The initial FBI profile suggests a disorganized, local offender, someone impulsive, but the letters contradict this. The letters suggest calculation. They suggest someone who is playing a game.
Let's look closer at the ink. When we isolate the syntax, the facade begins to crack. The killer uses specific regional dialects, phrases that don't belong to a transient drifter, but to someone rooted in the local culture, yet trying to sound formal. He overcompensates. He uses overly formal punctuation, excessive semicolons, deliberate dashes, where simple periods would do. It's an attempt to mask his true voice, like a child wearing an oversized suit. But the most glaring anomaly isn't the punctuation, it's the verb tense. Throughout the letters, he switches between the active and passive voice in a highly unusual pattern. When describing his actions, his dominance, he uses the active voice. I watched them. I took it. But when describing the actual violence, the syntax shifts entirely. This brings us to the core of the punctuation profile, the retention mechanism of his psychology. Why did he switch to the passive voice when describing the murders?
The act was committed. They were taken. He removes himself from the narrative of the violence. This isn't just a grammatical choice. It's a psychological tell. The active voice reveals his arrogance, his need to feel powerful and in control. But the passive voice reveals his deep-seated cowardice. He cannot even bring himself to claim ownership of the violence he inflicted.
He thought his complex sentences and taunting tone made him a mastermind. Instead, his syntax exposed him as a weak, deeply insecure predator, trying to distance himself from his own atrocities.
The 1977 Girl Scout murders remain officially unsolved, though a primary suspect was acquitted and later died. But the letters remain, a permanent record of a killer who thought he was smarter than everyone else, unaware that his own words were his loudest confession.